So you want to buy a luxury airport? It sounds like the ultimate power move. It is the playground of the global elite. A fortress of glass, steel, and private runways where the world's most powerful people escape the chaos of the public eye. You imagine yourself standing in a sleek, quiet terminal watching Gulfstreams glide onto the tarmac, collecting massive checks just for letting them park. But behind the quiet luxury lies a deeply calculating, invisible psychological trap. You see, the average person thinks a luxury airport makes its money from planes. They think it is about fuel, hangars, and landing fees. But that is the grand illusion. In reality, a luxury airport is not a transportation hub at all. It is a highly engineered, sensory deprivation chamber designed to bypass the critical thinking centers of the human brain. It is an operational machine built to extract millions of dollars from people who are too rich to care, but too distracted to notice. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how this invisible trap is built, how it manipulates the psychology of the ultra-wealthy, and how you can run the numbers to own a piece of this terrifyingly lucrative industry. To understand this business, we first have to look at the brutal cost of admission. You cannot simply pave a strip of concrete and call it a luxury hub. In this game, there are levels, and the price of entry is staggering. If you are starting small, you look at buying a boutique fixed base operator or an FBO. This is essentially a private terminal attached to an existing municipal airport. To secure a lease, build a premium lounge, and set up basic fueling stations, you are looking at a minimum entry fee of $15 million to $30 million. But if you want to play in the big leagues, if you want to build a dedicated standalone luxury airport from scratch, you are looking at a capital-intensive nightmare. We are talking $500 million to over $2 billion. And the money is just the first hurdle. The real nightmare is the invisible wall of geopolitical bureaucracy. To build a private runway, you must navigate an absolute minefield of airspace regulations, environmental impact studies, and local political resistance. It can take up to 10 years just to secure the permits. 10 years of burning cash. Before a single tire touches your runway, most rookie investors assume that once the runway is built, the hard part is over. They think the planes will land, the checks will clear, and the cash will flow automatically. But they are completely wrong, because the runway itself is actually a loss leader. Step back for a second. Let us look at the raw mechanics of how this machine actually makes money. If you run a standard business, your revenue is simple. You sell a product, you make a margin. But a luxury airport operates on a completely different psychological plane. To understand it, think of a high-end casino. A casino does not make its real money from charging you admission at the door. In fact, they make the entrance as seamless and enticing as possible. They might even give you free drinks. Why? Because they want you inside, where the real extraction happens. In a luxury airport, the landing fee is just the ticket to enter. If you rely solely on landing fees, you will go bankrupt within months. The real money is hidden in the shadows. It is hidden in the fuel markup. When a private jet lands, it needs thousands of gallons of specialized aviation fuel. As the airport owner, you buy this fuel at wholesale prices and sell it to the private jet operators at an astronomical markup, sometimes up to 300%. A single refueling session for a heavy jet can easily net you a quick, effortless $10,000 profit. But even fuel is just the baseline. The true genius of the business lies in the concept of engineered immersion. From the moment an elite traveler steps out of their limousine, they enter a world where every single detail has been mathematically designed to manipulate their behavior. In behavioral economics, there is a concept known as the golden hour. This is the precise window of time between a passenger clearing security and boarding their aircraft. During a standard flight, this hour is filled with anxiety, long lines, and frustration. But in a luxury terminal, that anxiety is systematically erased. Why? Because a stressed mind does not spend money. A stressed mind is in survival mode. So how do we fix this? We use sensory engineering. First, look at the physical architecture. You will almost never see sharp 90-degree angles in a premium terminal. The walls are curved. The walkways gently bend. This is a psychological trick designed to naturally guide the human eye and the human body toward luxury retail displays without them feeling forced. Next, pay attention to the lighting and the scent. Luxury airports use highly specific, custom-engineered diffusion systems to fill the air with notes of sandalwood, leather, and soft vanilla. These scents are scientifically proven to lower heart rates and trigger feelings of comfort and nostalgia. And then, there is the illusion of time. In a luxury terminal, they never show giant flashing clocks. Time is made to feel irrelevant. They create an environment so quiet, so deeply insulated from the outside world that the traveler's guard drops. When a multimillionaire is relaxed, wrapped in sensory comfort and drinking high-end champagne, their relationship with money changes. They cease to look at price tags. A $15,000 watch in the duty-free boutique doesn't feel like a major financial decision anymore. It feels like an impulse buy. It is a beautiful, highly profitable trap. But even the most beautiful traps can snap shut on the person who built them. If this business is such an incredible money machine, why do some of the wealthiest investors on the planet still fail at it? The answer is simple: they fall victim to the vanity trap. Let us look at a real-world disaster. A few years ago, a consortium of ambitious investors decided to build a state-of-the-art, ultra-luxury airport in a region they believed was the next playground for the elite. They spared no expense. They imported Italian marble for the floors, hired Michelin-star chefs for the lounges, and built a massive 2-mile-long runway. Total cost, over $1.2 billion, but they made a fatal mistake. They fell in love with the status of the asset rather than the data of the market. This brings us to mistake number 1, overbuilding for the wrong demographic. They built a terminal designed for heavy, long-range international jets, in an area that was primarily visited by smaller, regional turboprops. The local elite didn't need a 2-mile runway. They didn't need a terminal that could handle 300 people at once. The maintenance costs, the sheer capex required just to keep the runway cleared, the marble polished, and the high-tech security running was over $150,000 a day. Within 2 years, the airport was practically a ghost town. They had the luxury, but they had absolutely no volume. They filed for bankruptcy, and the entire asset was sold to a cargo logistics company for pennies on the dollar. Then we have mistake number 2, the debt trap. Because these projects are so expensive, investors often rely heavily on debt financing. They assume that high-margin retail and fuel sales will easily cover the interest payments. But aviation is incredibly sensitive to global economic cycles. The moment a recession hits or a geopolitical crisis occurs, private flight hours drop instantly. If your luxury airport is carrying $400 million in high-interest debt, even a temporary 20% dip in traffic can cause a sudden catastrophic default. Now, let us look at the cold, hard numbers. Let us run a final financial simulation to see if this asset is actually worth your time and capital. Imagine you decide to acquire a mid-sized, high-performing luxury terminal. Total acquisition cost: $150 million, funded with $50 million of your own capital and $100 million in bank debt. Annual operating expenses: $12 million, including staff, maintenance, security, and administrative costs. Annual debt service, $7 million in interest payments. Now let us look at your revenue streams. Fuel sales. You pump 5 million gallons of fuel a year with a net profit margin of $2. $50 per gallon, that is $12, $5 million in pure profit. Parking and hangar fees, $4 million per year. Luxury retail and VIP services, $8 million per year. This brings your total annual revenue to $24, $5 million. After subtracting your operating expenses and your debt payments, you are left with a net annual profit of $5. $5 million. On your original cash investment of $50 million, that represents an incredibly solid 11% annual return. Your realistic payback period to recoup your entire cash outlay is approximately 9 years. But remember, those 9 years require perfect execution.